The massive ship floated in the darkness between stars like a small city made of metal and light. The Harmony's Edge was the pride of the Galactic Consortium, built to welcome new species into their peaceful community. Today, it had a very important job to do. Captain Zexithari stood on the main bridge watching the screens that showed a much smaller ship approaching. The captain's skin was like crystal, changing colors as different thoughts moved through his mind. Right now, it showed the pale blue of curiosity mixed with the yellow of caution. "The human vessel is requesting permission to dock," reported Lieutenant Kivara from her station. Her 6 arms moved quickly across the control panels as she checked the readings. "Grant permission," Zexithari said, "but keep all security systems ready. We know very little about these humans." The human ship was tiny compared to the consortium flagship. It looked rough and simple, like it was built for function rather than beauty. As it slowly moved into the docking bay, hundreds of alien crew members watched from safe distances. Some had scales, others had feathers, and a few looked like walking crystals. But they all shared the same feeling of nervous excitement. This was first contact with a new species. Zexithari walked through the long corridors of his ship toward the docking bay. The walls were covered with art from dozens of different worlds, showing the peace and friendship that the consortium brought to the galaxy. Each new species that joined made their community stronger and safer, but first they had to pass the test. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss, and the human delegation stepped out. Zexithari blinked in surprise. They looked so ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Their skin was a strange peachy color, and they had small patches of hair on their heads. The leader, a female, stepped forward with confidence. "I am Ambassador Elena Vasquez of Earth," she said through the universal translator device attached to her collar. "Thank you for welcoming us to your ship." Zexithari's skin shifted to a warm orange, the color of polite greeting. "I am Captain Zexithari. Welcome to the Harmony's Edge. We are honored to make contact with your species." Elena smiled, showing white teeth. The gesture seemed friendly, though Zexithari made a mental note to check if showing teeth was a threat display among humans. "We have prepared quarters for you and your team," Zexithari continued. "But first, there is an important ceremony we must complete. All new species must undergo the threat assessment protocol before they can join our community." "Of course," Elena said. "We understand completely. We want to prove that Earth poses no danger to your worlds." The human team consisted of 5 individuals. Besides Elena, there was Dr. James Chen, who carried what looked like a primitive computing device. The others were introduced as security and technical specialists. They all seemed calm and relaxed, which Zexithari found interesting. Most species were nervous during first contact. "The assessment will take place tomorrow in our main ceremony hall," Zexithari explained as he led them through the ship. "Representatives from 47 different species will observe. We will project images of your world's most dangerous life forms, so our experts can evaluate any potential threats." "That sounds reasonable," Elena said. "Though I should mention that Earth has quite a diverse ecosystem. Some of our animals might look frightening to species that evolved differently." Dr. Chen nodded. "We've prepared a complete database of Earth's fauna. We want to be completely transparent." As they walked, crew members from different species stopped to stare at the humans. Some whispered to each other in languages the translator couldn't handle. Zexithari noticed that the humans seemed genuinely curious about everything they saw, asking polite questions about the ship's design and the different species they encountered. "Your ship is amazing," Elena said as they passed a viewing window that showed the stars outside. "How many different species helped build it?" 12 species contributed to the design," Zexithari replied. "Each brought their own expertise. The Kilnari provided the navigation systems. The Vorthak designed the life support, and my own people, the Valerians, created the diplomatic facilities. Cooperation between so many different types of beings," Dr. Chen mused. "It's beautiful." Zexithari's skin shifted to a pleased purple. These humans seemed to appreciate the values that the consortium stood for. They reached the guest quarters, which had been specially prepared for the human visitors. The rooms were designed to accommodate their apparent need for privacy and their bipedal structure. "We've analyzed the atmosphere from your ship," Zexithari explained. "These rooms have been adjusted to match your atmospheric requirements. If you need anything, simply speak to the wall panel and our computer will assist you." Elena looked around the comfortable rooms with appreciation. "This is perfect. Thank you for your hospitality. The ceremony will begin at what you call 0900 hours tomorrow, Zexthari said. Please dress in whatever manner is appropriate for formal occasions in your culture. Many important officials will be present. After the humans settled into their quarters, Zexthari returned to his own office to review the files his science team had prepared. The preliminary scans of the human ship had revealed some interesting information about their home world. Earth was a water world with a single large moon. It had a diverse climate and appeared to support many different types of life. The humans themselves seemed to be omnivores, eating both plants and meat. Their technology was primitive but functional. What concerned the science team was the preliminary biological scans. Earth seemed to have an unusually high number of large predatory species for a world that had produced sentient life. Usually intelligent species evolved on worlds where cooperation was more advantageous than competition. Zexthari's assistant, a small creature with butterfly-like wings, fluttered into the office. Sir, the other species representatives have arrived for tomorrow's ceremony. They're all very curious about these humans. Any concerns? Zexthari asked. The Kethmori delegation is worried about admitting another predator species to the consortium. They remember what happened with the Drogar incident 300 years ago. Zexthari's skin darkened slightly. The Drogar had seemed peaceful enough, but their idea of hunting for sport had caused diplomatic incidents across 7 star systems before they were finally contained. What about the biological reports? He asked. Dr. Vishatal has reviewed the preliminary data. Earth shows signs of supporting multiple apex predator species. She recommends extreme caution during the assessment. That night, Zexthari had trouble sleeping. In his experience, species that evolved alongside dangerous predators usually developed in one of 2 ways. They became very good at hiding and avoiding conflict, or they became predators themselves. The humans didn't seem like a species that spent their evolution hiding. The next morning, the ceremony hall filled with delegates from across the galaxy. The room was enormous, with floating platforms arranged in a sphere around a central projection area. Each platform held representatives from different species, all watching with interest as the humans were escorted to the center. Elena and her team stood calmly in the middle of the vast space, surrounded by the most advanced holographic projection system in the galaxy. Above them, below them, and all around them, hundreds of alien eyes watched and waited. Zexthari activated the projection system from his control platform. Ambassador Vasquez, we will now display the dangerous life forms of your world. Our experts will evaluate each one for potential threats to consortium worlds. Please provide any necessary context. Elena nodded. We're ready, Captain. The lights dimmed and the first hologram began to form in the space around the humans. Zexthari watched Elena's face carefully, expecting to see fear or at least concern as her world's monsters appeared around her. Instead, he saw something he couldn't quite identify. Something that made his skin shift to the deep purple of confusion. Elena was smiling. The first creature that appeared in the holographic display made half the audience gasp in terror. A massive great white shark materialized in the center of the chamber, its body stretching nearly 20 feet from nose to tail. The projection was so real that many aliens could see the individual scars on its hide and the rows of razor-sharp teeth that lined its powerful jaws. The shark moved through simulated water, its black eyes scanning the area as if searching for prey. Its movements were smooth and deadly, the perfect killing machine that had survived millions of years without needing to evolve. This is a great white shark, Dr. Chen said calmly, reading from his device. They can grow up to 23 feet long and weigh over 5,000 pounds. Their bite force is approximately 4,000 pounds per square inch. Zexthari watched the alien delegates react to this information. The Kilnari representatives, who had evolved from small reef-dwelling creatures, were visibly shaking. Several of the butterfly-like Fenthari had already moved their platforms further away from the projection, but the humans stood there looking completely relaxed. Elena even seemed to be enjoying herself as she watched the great predator circle around them. Next specimen, Zexthari announced. Trying to keep his voice steady, the shark faded away, replaced by something that made the audience gasp even louder. A massive grizzly bear reared up on its hind legs, standing nearly 9 feet tall. Its claws were 6 inches long and looked like they could tear through metal. The bear's roar echoed through the chamber, a sound that triggered ancient fear responses in dozens of different species. Grizzly bear, Elena said, as casually as if she were describing the weather. This one's a big male, probably around 800 pounds. They're actually quite intelligent animals. The projection showed the bear dropping to all fours and moving with surprising speed for such a large creature. Its powerful muscles rippled under thick brown fur as it demonstrated the kind of charge that could break trees. It can run up to 30 miles per hour, Dr. Chen added helpfully. Fast enough to catch most prey animals. On Platform 7, a delegate from the herbivorous Veltari species fainted and had to be carried away by medical staff. The projections continued, each one more terrifying than the last. A pride of lions appeared, their golden eyes reflecting an intelligence that spoke of coordinated hunting strategies. The male's mane flowed as he roared, a sound that had once struck fear into the hearts of early humans hiding in caves. But Elena just pointed at the lions and said something to Dr. Chen that made him chuckle. The translator caught fragments. Remember the zoo in Kenya, and such beautiful cats. Next came a Bengal tiger, its orange and black stripes making it nearly invisible as it stalked through holographic jungle undergrowth. The massive cat moved with liquid grace, every step calculated and silent. When it opened its mouth to display fangs longer than a Chilnari's fingers, several more delegates left their platforms. Tigers are solitary hunters, Elena explained to the horrified audience. They can leap up to 30 feet and have been known to take down prey much larger than themselves. The projections grew more diverse and terrifying. A saltwater crocodile appeared, its prehistoric eyes showing no emotion as its jaws snapped shut with enough force to crush bones. Venomous snakes slithered through the display, cobras with hoods spread wide, vipers with heat-sensing abilities that could track warm-blooded prey in complete darkness. Each creature caused new waves of fear among the alien observers. The insectoid Clicktar clicked their mandibles nervously when army ants appeared in massive swarms, their coordination and aggression obvious even in holographic form. The tentacled Mirthari delegates turned pale blue with distress when Octopi demonstrated their intelligence and camouflage abilities. But it was the pack animals that truly horrified the audience. Wolves appeared in the projection, their yellow eyes glowing as they coordinated their attack on holographic prey. The display showed their ability to work together, to plan and execute complex hunting strategies that required individual sacrifice for the good of the pack. Wolves are our most successful cooperative hunters, Dr. Chen explained. They can bring down animals 10 times their size through teamwork and persistence. Zexathari noticed that several military advisors in the audience were taking notes. The tactical implications of Earth's predators were becoming clear to everyone present. The captain's skin had shifted to a deep orange, the color of growing alarm. These weren't just dangerous animals. These were sophisticated killers that had evolved complex strategies for dealing with any situation. A world that produced such creatures would be a nightmare for most consortium species. But the humans were talking about these monsters like they were old friends. Oh, look at that pack coordination, Elena said with obvious admiration as the wolves demonstrated their hunting technique. Beautiful teamwork. The projections moved into extinct species and the terror in the chamber reached new heights. A saber-toothed cat appeared, its enormous fangs gleaming as it demonstrated the killing bite that had made it the apex predator of its time. Dire wolves, larger and more powerful than their modern descendants, showed why early humans had lived in constant fear. Then came the giants. A Tyrannosaurus rex materialized in the center of the chamber, its massive head nearly 40 feet above the floor. The projection showed every detail, the powerful legs that could crush smaller creatures underfoot, the tiny arms that were still strong enough to lift hundreds of pounds, and the jaws lined with teeth as long as bananas. The T-Rex let out a roar that had been reconstructed from fossil evidence and computer modeling. The sound was so primal, so full of predatory rage that it triggered panic responses in species across the galaxy. Emergency medical teams rushed to help delegates, who had collapsed from fear, but Elena Vasquez just looked up at the massive predator with what could only be described as fondness. Magnificent creature, she said softly. Hard to believe they're related to modern birds. Dr. Chen nodded. The theropod family tree is fascinating. All those adaptations for hunting and survival. Zexathari's mind reeled. The humans were discussing these terrifying beasts like scientists examining interesting specimens. There was no fear in their voices, no recognition of the mortal danger these creatures represented. The projections continued with other prehistoric giants. Cave bears that made modern grizzlies look small, giant crocodiles that had hunted dinosaurs, megalodon sharks that could have swallowed the Great White Hole. Each projection caused more panic among the delegates. The chamber was half empty now, with many species representatives unable to continue watching. Those who remained did so from platforms that had been moved as far from the center as possible. But through it all, the 5 humans stood calmly in the center of the terror, watching their world's monsters with expressions that ranged from curiosity to actual pleasure. Sexithari realized that his hands were shaking as he operated the controls. His skin had turned a mottled combination of orange alarm and purple confusion. Nothing in his decades of diplomatic experience had prepared him for this situation. These weren't the reactions of a prey species that had somehow achieved intelligence despite their dangerous world. These weren't even the reactions of a predator species that understood and respected dangerous competitors. These were the reactions of beings who seemed genuinely comfortable with creatures that could kill them without effort. The final projection faded away, leaving the chamber in relative quiet. The remaining delegates sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had witnessed. Several species were already transmitting urgent messages to their homeworlds, warning of the potential threat that Earth represented. Sexithari took a deep breath and prepared to ask the questions that protocol demanded. He needed to understand how humanity had survived on a world populated by such monsters. He needed to know what kind of technology or tactics they had developed to protect themselves from these apex predators. But before he could speak, Elena Vasquez stepped forward with that same inexplicable smile and said something that made Sexithari question everything. He thought he knew about intelligent life in the universe. "Thank you for that wonderful display, Captain," she said warmly, "though I should clarify something important for your records." The chamber fell completely silent. "Most of those creatures you just showed us? Those were our pets." The silence in the chamber was so complete that Sexithari could hear the hum of the life support systems. Every alien delegate sat frozen, staring at the human ambassador who had just said something that their universal translators must have gotten wrong. Pets. She had said pets. Sexithari's skin cycled rapidly through colors: orange alarm, purple confusion, and flashes of red that indicated system overload. He checked his translator twice, then a third time. The device insisted it had translated correctly. "I'm sorry, Ambassador," he said carefully. "Could you repeat that? I believe there may have been a translation error." Elena's smile grew wider, showing those white teeth again. "No error, Captain. I said those were our pets. Well, most of them anyway. Some were our friends, some were our helpers, and a few we just liked having around." Dr. Chen stepped forward, activating his portable device. Perhaps a demonstration would help clear things up. The holographic projector in the center of the chamber flickered to life again, but this time it was displaying images from Dr. Chen's database instead of the official consortium files. The first image made several delegates gasp in horror. It showed a small human child, no more than 5 years old by their estimation, sitting on the ground next to what was clearly a descendant of the wolves they had just seen. But this wolf was different. Its fur was golden instead of gray, its ears flopped down instead of standing up, and its tongue was hanging out in what looked like happiness. "This is my nephew with our family dog," Dr. Chen explained casually. "Dogs are wolves that we domesticated about 15,000 years ago. We've been living with them ever since." The image changed to show hundreds of similar scenes. Humans of all ages playing with creatures that looked like smaller versions of the terrifying wolves from the projection. Some were tiny enough to fit in a human's arms. Others were large enough to knock a human down just by being friendly. "We have over 400 different breeds of dogs now," Elena added. "They help us hunt, they guard our homes, they guide humans who can't see, and mostly they just keep us company. We love them." Sexithari felt his world tilting. Love. They loved the descendants of pack hunters that could coordinate attacks and bring down prey 10 times their size. "But that's impossible," squeaked Counselor Vithak from Platform 12. His species, the Pikri, had evolved from small prey animals and still retained many of their ancestral fears. "Those creatures are killers. How do you sleep at night knowing they're in your homes?" Elena looked confused by the question. "Sleep? Usually the dogs sleep with us. On our beds. It's warmer that way, and they like to be close to their families. The chamber erupted in shocked chittering, clicking, and other sounds of distress. Several more delegates fainted. "Show them the cats," Dr. Chen suggested. The hologram changed again, displaying the great cats from the earlier projection. But now they were interspersed with images of smaller cats, house cats that were clearly domesticated versions of their wild cousins. The images showed humans cuddling with these miniature predators, letting them sleep on their furniture, even allowing them to bring dead prey animals into their homes as gifts. Cats domesticated themselves, Elena explained. They decided they liked living with us about 9,000 years ago. They help control pests and they're wonderful companions, very independent, but affectionate when they want to be. You let predators live in your homes voluntarily. This came from Admiral Kekstar, a military leader whose species had fought a 100-year war against their planet's apex predators. Predators that could kill you while you sleep? Well, yes, Elena said, looking puzzled by his horror. Though house cats are pretty small. The biggest ones are only about 20 pounds. They're much more likely to bring us dead mice as presents than to hurt us. Dr. Chen pulled up another image that made the audience recoil in mass terror. It showed a human swimming in open water with several dolphins. But the aliens weren't looking at the dolphins. They were staring at what was clearly visible in the background. Sharks. Multiple sharks. Swimming in the same water as the defenseless human. Shark diving is a popular recreational activity, Dr. Chen said cheerfully. We swim with them, study them, and work to protect them from extinction. Sharks are actually very gentle creatures most of the time. Gentle. The word came out as a horrified whisper from at least a dozen different species. Elena nodded enthusiastically. Oh yes, shark attacks on humans are incredibly rare. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than bitten by a shark. Most species are completely harmless to humans. She gestured to the hologram, which was now showing humans in metal cages underwater, surrounded by great white sharks. We go diving specifically to see them up close. They're beautiful animals. Zexthari's mind struggled to process this information. The humans were describing activities that would be considered suicidal by every species in the consortium, and they were doing it for fun. What about the bears? Asked Dr. Yilmoth, the consortium's chief xenobiologist. Surely you don't interact with those creatures? Actually, Elena said, her face lighting up. Bears are amazing. Some of our northern peoples have been working with them for centuries. Trained bears helped with heavy labor, entertainment, and companionship. The hologram showed images that defied all logic. Humans riding on the backs of massive brown bears. Humans hand-feeding bears from containers. Humans actually hugging creatures that could tear them apart with one swipe of their claws. In some cultures, bears are considered sacred, Dr. Chen added. We tell stories about them, we study their behavior, and we work hard to protect their habitats. This is madness, declared Representative Kixnall from the Insectoid Hive Confederation. Your species should have been extinct within a generation of developing intelligence. How did you survive? Elena's expression grew thoughtful. I think that's exactly why we survived. We didn't try to eliminate everything dangerous or hide from it. We learned to understand it, respect it, and when possible, make friends with it. She gestured around the chamber. Every species here has told us about their homeworlds. Most of you evolved on planets where the intelligent species became dominant by avoiding or eliminating competition. You built safe spaces and stayed in them. That's the logical approach, Zexathari said weakly. Maybe, Elena agreed. But we took a different path. When we encountered something dangerous, we studied it. We learned its behavior, its needs, its motivations. We found ways to coexist instead of just ways to avoid each other. Dr. Chen activated another series of images. Look at this progression. The hologram showed the evolution of human-animal relationships over thousands of years. Wild wolves gradually becoming dogs, wildcats choosing to live near human settlements, horses being domesticated for transportation and companionship, cattle, sheep, and pigs being raised not just for food but as part of integrated farming systems. We didn't just domesticate animals for labor or food, Elena explained. We formed partnerships. We learned that life was easier and more interesting when we worked together instead of just trying to stay out of each other's way. But the risks, protested Counselor Vithak, the constant danger, made us stronger, Elena said simply. When you live alongside creatures that could kill you, you learn to be very good at reading body language, understanding motivations, and building trust. Those skills helped us in everything we did. The hologram changed to show modern Earth cities where humans lived alongside thousands of different species. Parks where children played while birds nested in trees above them. Waterways where fish swam while humans worked on boats. Forests where hiking trails let humans walk through the territories of bears, wolves, and big cats. "This is why you seem so calm around us," Zexthari realized suddenly. "You're used to evaluating whether creatures are dangerous and deciding how to interact with them safely." "Exactly," Dr. Chen said. "Every species here has been friendly and obviously intelligent. We can see that you're herbivores, or peaceful hunters, or social insects working for the good of your communities. None of you show signs of being territorial predators or mindless killing machines. You evaluated us," Admiral Kextar said slowly. "When you came aboard this ship, you were checking to see if we were dangerous." Elena nodded. "Of course. It's automatic for us. But you all passed the test easily. You're obviously civilized beings who want peaceful contact. And if we hadn't passed?" Zexthari asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Elena's smile became more serious, and for just a moment the aliens in the chamber caught a glimpse of something that reminded them of the predators they had seen in the projections. "Then, we would have been much more careful about how we proceeded," she said quietly. The chamber fell silent, again as the delegates absorbed this information. The humans hadn't just survived on a world full of monsters. They had thrived by turning those monsters into allies. And now they were applying those same skills to galactic diplomacy. "Captain," Dr. Chen said, breaking the silence, "would you like to see what we actually consider dangerous on our world?" Zexthari looked at the calm, confident human standing in the center of his chamber, and realized that his understanding of danger might be about to change completely. "Show us," he said, though every instinct screamed that he was making a terrible mistake. Dr. Chen's fingers moved across his device with practiced ease. The holographic projector hummed to life once more, but this time the display was different. Instead of massive predators with claws and teeth, tiny organisms appeared in the center of the chamber, magnified thousands of times so the alien delegates could see them clearly. "These," Elena said with a seriousness that hadn't been present when discussing sharks and bears, "are what we actually consider dangerous." The first organism looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen. It was roughly spherical, covered in spike-like proteins, and appeared to be constantly changing shape. Even magnified, it was smaller than most beings' fingernails. "This is a virus," Dr. Chen explained. "Specifically, this is the influenza virus that killed 50 million humans in 1918. We call it the Spanish flu." The chamber was deadly quiet. After watching humans casually discuss swimming with sharks, the sight of them showing genuine concern for something so tiny was deeply unsettling. "I don't understand," said Dr. Yilmoth slowly. "This creature is microscopic. How could it possibly threaten a species that lives with bears?" Elena's expression grew grim. "Because you can't see it coming. You can't read its body language or understand its motivations. You can't form a partnership with it or teach it to live peacefully with you. It has only one purpose: to reproduce, regardless of whether that kills its host." The hologram shifted to show the virus in action, attacking human cells and reproducing rapidly. The aliens watched in horror as the tiny organism overwhelmed the body's defenses through sheer numbers and persistence. "A single virus can become millions within hours," Dr. Chen continued. "They spread through the air, through touch, through water. You can't fight them with strength or speed or intelligence. They don't care if you're the apex predator of your world." More organisms appeared in the projection. Bacteria that could cause flesh to rot away, parasites that could control their host's behavior, fungal infections that could spread through entire populations. "This is Yersinia pestis," Elena said, pointing to a rod-shaped bacterium. "We call it the Black Death. It killed 1/3 of Europe's population in the 14th century. 60 million people died. The numbers hit the alien delegates like physical blows. Species that had evolved on safer worlds couldn't comprehend such massive casualties from enemies they couldn't even see. "How do you fight something like that?" whispered Counselor Vithek. "Very carefully," Elena replied. "We developed medicine, sanitation, vaccines, antibiotics. We learned to work together in ways that limited the spread of disease. We studied our enemies for hundreds of years before we could effectively fight them." Dr. Chen brought up historical images showing human responses to pandemics. Quarantine procedures that isolated entire cities, medical workers in protective gear treating patients while risking their own lives, scientists working day and night to develop treatments for diseases they barely understood. But here's the remarkable thing, Elena continued. Even with these invisible killers, we didn't try to eliminate them completely. We learned to coexist. The hologram showed beneficial bacteria that helped humans digest food, viruses that had been modified to deliver medicine to specific parts of the body, controlled infections that trained immune systems to fight more dangerous diseases. We use viruses as tools now, Dr. Chen explained. We've learned to modify them to fight cancer, to carry genetic therapies to help our bodies repair themselves. We turned some of our deadliest enemies into allies. Admiral Kexitar leaned forward in his platform. You're telling us that your species' greatest threats were organisms too small to see? And you not only defeated them but found ways to work with them? Some of them, Elena corrected. Others were still fighting. Disease is an ongoing challenge for us. But yes, we've learned that understanding our enemies is usually more effective than just trying to destroy them. The projection changed to show modern human medical facilities. Clean rooms where doctors performed surgery with precision that amazed the alien observers. Laboratories where scientists studied dangerous pathogens under strict containment. Hospitals where humans cared for each other during illness with a dedication that spoke of deep social bonds. Your medical technology, Dr. Yilmoth said with growing amazement. It's far more advanced than your space travel or your weapon systems. Of course, Elena said. When your biggest enemies are invisible and can kill anyone regardless of size or strength, you get very good at medicine very quickly. Zexathari felt his understanding of humanity shifting once again. You developed advanced medical science before you developed advanced weapons because you needed it to survive your own planet. Exactly, Dr. Chen confirmed. By the time we started exploring space, we'd already spent thousands of years fighting enemies that made your worst nightmares look simple. Giant predators are straightforward. You can see them coming, understand their behavior, and develop appropriate responses. Microorganisms are much more challenging. The hologram shifted to show other threats that humans considered truly dangerous. Natural disasters that could level cities. Climate changes that could make entire regions uninhabitable. Asteroid impacts that could threaten all life on Earth. We've learned to be very good at thinking about invisible or distant threats, Elena explained. Things that don't seem dangerous until it's too late to prepare for them. Is this why your species seems so adaptable? Asked Representative Kixnell. You've had to learn to adjust to threats you couldn't predict or control. Partly, yes, Elena agreed. When you live on a world where the biggest dangers are often the ones you can't see coming, you learn to be flexible. You learn to work together during crises. You learn to plan for things that haven't happened yet. Dr. Chen activated another series of images showing human emergency response systems, disaster relief organizations that could mobilize resources across the planet within hours, scientific networks that shared information about new threats instantly, international cooperation protocols that had been developed through centuries of facing common enemies. We're also very good at learning from failures, Elena added. Every pandemic taught us something new about disease control. Every natural disaster showed us better ways to prepare and respond. We built our civilization around the assumption that we would face unexpected challenges. The alien delegates absorbed this information with growing respect and, in some cases, fear. A species that could survive invisible killers and turn them into tools was not a species to be underestimated. There's something else you should know, Dr. Chen said quietly, about how we approach potential threats. The hologram changed once more, showing images from human history. But these weren't medical or scientific scenes. These were images of humans exploring dangerous places voluntarily. Climbing mountains that could kill them. Diving to ocean depths that could crush them. Exploring caves that could trap them forever. We don't just adapt to danger, Elena explained. We actively seek it out. We explore places specifically because they're dangerous. We study things specifically because they might kill us. We believe that understanding dangerous things makes us stronger and safer. You seek out danger for education, Zexthari said slowly. Not for conquest or resources, but to learn. Yes, Elena confirmed. Some of our greatest advances have come from studying the most dangerous places and creatures on our world. Deep ocean research gave us insights into pressure and material science. Volcano studies taught us about geology and energy. Even our space program started because we wanted to explore the most dangerous environment we could imagine. The implications of this hit the alien delegates like a wave. Humans didn't just survive danger. They actively pursued it as a learning opportunity. They treated every threat as a puzzle to be solved rather than just an enemy to be avoided. This is why you're so calm about first contact, Admiral Kextar realized. To you, we're just another interesting challenge to understand and potentially work with. Elena smiled that warm, slightly terrifying smile again. Admiral, you and your people are one of the most fascinating things we've ever encountered. A peaceful military federation that's maintained stability across dozens of star systems. We have so much to learn from you. And if we had been hostile? Zexthari asked. Elena's expression became serious again. Then we would have learned different things. How you fight, what you fear, what motivates you, how to protect ourselves and others from you. But we would still have tried to understand you. Dr. Chen nodded. In our experience, even the most dangerous enemies usually have reasons for their behavior. Understanding those reasons is the first step toward finding a solution that works for everyone. The chamber fell silent as the delegates processed everything they had learned. The humans weren't just survivors or predators or prey. They were something entirely new in the galactic community. A species that had learned to thrive by actively engaging with danger rather than avoiding it. Captain, Elena said softly, we have one more thing to show you. Something that might help you understand why we're so confident about joining your consortium. Zexithari's skin was cycling through colors too rapidly to track, but he managed to nod. At this point, he was prepared for anything. Show us, he said, though he wondered if his worldview could survive any more revelations about these Remarkadoctor. Chen's device projected a new image into the center of the chamber, and for the first time since the assessment began, the alien delegates leaned forward instead of pulling back in fear. The hologram showed Earth from space, a blue and green marble floating in the void covered in swirling white clouds. This is our world, Elena said softly. 3.8 billion years of evolution. Countless species rising and falling, ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, and mass extinctions. Through it all, life found a way to continue. The projection zoomed in, showing the diversity of Earth's ecosystems, tropical rainforests teeming with life, vast oceans filled with creatures both beautiful and strange, mountain ranges that touched the sky, deserts that bloomed with hidden beauty after rare rains. We didn't conquer this world, Elena continued. We learned to be part of it. Every ecosystem you see here taught us something different about survival, cooperation, and adaptation. The hologram shifted to show human settlements integrated into natural environments. Cities with parks and gardens. Farms that worked with natural weather patterns. Coastal communities that had learned to live with changing tides and storms. Look closely, Dr. Chen said. In every image, you'll see humans living alongside other species. We never tried to eliminate the dangerous creatures or claim the entire planet for ourselves. It was true. The alien delegates could see it clearly now. In the forest scenes, humans hiked on trails while leaving the vast majority of the land untouched. In ocean views, human boats shared the water with whales, dolphins, and yes, sharks. Even in the cities, green spaces provided homes for countless other species. We learned that diversity makes ecosystems stronger, Elena explained. The more different types of life you have, the more stable and resilient the whole system becomes. We applied that principle to our own civilization. Zexthari felt a profound shift in his understanding. You're not just a single species. You're part of a planetary ecosystem that includes all those predators and partners. Exactly, Elena said with obvious pleasure. We don't see ourselves as separate from nature. We see ourselves as one part of a much larger community. That's why we're so excited about the possibility of joining the Galactic Consortium. The projection changed to show images of human cooperation across their planet. International research stations in Antarctica, where scientists from dozens of nations work together. Space programs that combined resources and knowledge from multiple countries. Disaster relief efforts that crossed political boundaries without hesitation. We've learned that the biggest challenges require cooperation between different groups with different strengths, Dr. Chen explained. Climate change, disease, asteroid impacts, resource management. None of these problems can be solved by any one nation or group working alone. And you see the consortium the same way, Admiral Kextar realized. As a larger community where different species contribute different strengths, yes, Elena confirmed. Your people have mastered interstellar travel in ways we can barely imagine. The Silnari have navigation systems that could revolutionize how we explore the galaxy. The Fenthari's communication networks could help us coordinate responses to threats across multiple star systems. She gestured around the chamber at the various alien species. Every species here has survived and thrived by solving different challenges. You've all developed technologies and strategies that we could learn from, and maybe, just maybe, our experience with dangerous environments and invisible threats could be useful to all of you. The hologram shifted once more, showing scenarios that made several delegates gasp. Humans working alongside aliens in various emergency situations. Human medical teams treating alien patients during a pandemic. Human engineers helping evacuate an alien colony threatened by a natural disaster. Human scientists working with alien researchers to develop new technologies. We're not just offering to be members of your community, Elena said. We're offering to be partners in facing whatever challenges the galaxy might present. Dr. Chen activated a final image that summarized everything they had tried to communicate. It showed a vast network connecting Earth to dozens of other worlds with streams of information, resources, and people flowing in all directions. This is what we hope for, he said. Not just trade or political agreements, but true cooperation, sharing knowledge, combining strengths, and facing the unknown together. The chamber fell silent as the delegates absorbed everything they had learned. Zexithari looked around at the other species representatives, trying to gauge their reactions. Some still seemed afraid of humanity's casual relationship with danger. Others appeared intrigued by the possibilities that human adaptability might offer. Finally, Counselor Vithak spoke up from his platform. Ambassador Vasquez, I have one final question. Of course, Counselor. Your species has shown remarkable ability to work with dangerous creatures and adapt to threats. But how do we know that you won't become a threat to us? Elena considered the question seriously before answering. Because threatening you would serve no purpose for us. We've learned that cooperation produces better results than conflict. Competition wastes energy that could be used for exploration, research, and growth. Besides, Dr. Chen added with a slight smile, we've already evaluated all of you as potential threats. You passed our assessment before we even arrived at this ship. The alien delegates looked at each other nervously, suddenly realizing that they had been observed and judged just as carefully as they had been observing the humans. What was your conclusion? Zexithari asked carefully. Elena's warm smile returned. That you're exactly the kind of people we want to work with. Intelligent, peaceful, cooperative, and committed to building something better than any one species could achieve alone. And if we vote against humanity's admission to the consortium? Admiral Kexter asked. Then we'll respect your decision and continue trying to prove ourselves. Elena replied without hesitation. We believe that good partnerships can't be forced. They have to be chosen by all parties involved. Dr. Chen nodded. We'd continue our peaceful exploration of the galaxy, help any species that requested assistance, and hope that eventually you'd reconsider. We're very patient when it comes to building trust. The assessment chamber began to empty as delegates returned to their ships to consult with their governments. The vote wouldn't take place for several days while each species considered everything they had learned about humanity. Zexithari remained on his platform, watching the humans as they gathered their equipment. His skin had finally settled into a steady purple, the color of deep thought. Ambassador, he called out as Elena prepared to leave. Yes, Captain? Earlier you mentioned that your people engage in activities called extreme sports for entertainment. What exactly does that involve? Elena exchanged a look with Dr. Chen, who was trying not to laugh. Well, Captain, we throw ourselves out of aircraft at high altitudes and hope our parachutes work properly. We strap ourselves to boards and ride down mountains covered in snow and ice. We climb vertical rock faces using only our hands and feet. We surf on waves that are several stories tall. Zexthari's skin cycled through several rapid color changes. You do these things? For fun? For fun, for challenge, for the experience of pushing our limits, Elena confirmed. We believe that facing voluntary dangers in controlled situations helps prepare us for involuntary dangers in uncontrolled situations. And this is normal behavior for your species? Dr. Chen grinned. Captain, wait until you hear about our contact sports. Zexithari decided that some questions were better left unasked. His species had developed their entire civilization around avoiding unnecessary risks, and here were beings who sought out danger as a recreational activity. 3 days later, The vote took place. It was closer than anyone had expected. Several species remained concerned about introducing such an unpredictable element into their peaceful community. But the final tally was clear. Humanity would be welcomed into the Galactic Consortium. The decision came with some conditions. Earth would be classified as a high biological diversity zone, with restricted visitation until proper safety protocols could be developed. Human colonies would be monitored for the first century to ensure they maintained their peaceful intentions. And all human representatives would be required to complete cultural sensitivity training before interacting with species that had evolved from prey, animals. Elena accepted all conditions with grace and understanding. "We're honored to be part of this community," she said during the formal acceptance ceremony. "We look forward to learning from all of you and contributing whatever we can to our shared future." As the Harmony's Edge prepared to escort the human delegation back toward Earth, Zexathari found himself both excited and terrified about what humanity might bring to galactic civilization. They were unlike any species the Consortium had ever encountered, not because they were more advanced or more powerful, but because they approached existence itself in a fundamentally different way. "Captain," Elena said as she prepared to board her ship for the return journey, "thank you for giving us this opportunity. I think this is the beginning of SBLE." Terrifying hum.